You know, it's been a tough couple of weeks these past. I've been starting fights off everybody, calling abbots of unreason out for their lack of wheel knowledge, telling them that Maximilian Verstappen is the greatest, and people have told me that I'm Max glazing, that it's getting too much now, more than ever. And so I want to bring myself up to the culpability parapet, and it's apropos that I say that I want to take this time to say from the bottom of my heart that I want to apologise to absolutely nobody. What the hell do you mean Maximilian Verstappen is not a good driver, not a great one? How very dare you close your eyes and disbelieve the evidence that they are presenting to. Let me tell you how I know. Mr. Insecure over here, always doubting himself in his praise of Maximilian Verstappen. Maybe I don't know real. Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe they were better than Max Verstappen. Maybe Ayrton. Maybe Sir Lewis. Maybe Alain Prost was better. Maybe Maximilian Verstappen is a fast car Adrian Newey merchant. Maybe it was the fiddle brake or the inertia valve. Maybe they were right. However, I would defer at each and every single instance to the go-tier ones in F1, those intricately more connected to the circumstance than I, those insiders on the paddock, the accredited journos amongst us. And here's, ladies and gentlemen, what they have to say. I will present my case forth. Run Exhibit A.
You have to wait, because I just don't see why Toto would sign George unless he knows for certain that it's not possible to get Max. And that's no disrespect to George. It's to Rob's point that Max is the greatest driver of his generation. He's going to be the greatest for the next couple of years to come. And Toto needs to get the team back up and running. You know, he needs to be a world champion sooner rather than later. So it makes sense that we're just all playing this waiting game, waiting for Max, even though ironically he's got a contract until the end of 2028 with Red Bull.
That's Lawrence Perito of F1 speaking. He said that Maximilian Verstappen is the greatest driver of this generation. Henceforth, he'll hold the keys to the driver's market. Of course, Toto, the boy who cried wolf, isn't going to re-sign George Russell. Not whilst Maximilian Verstappen is deciding where and whom he wishes to drive for. No flipping chance. We said a gazillion times, no offence, King George Russell of Kings Lynn, Norfolk, that Toto, the boy who cried wolf, will dropkick in the chest a George Russell or a Kimi Antonelli on the eve of the Imola Grand Prix, his first home run of 2025. If indeed that means that he can get a whiff of the signature of one Maximilian Verstappen, and it's not just us saying this on the Cameron CC channel, it's those infinitely close to the circumstance, the accredited F1 journos. Now, so too, as your Exhibit B, the legend that is James Allen, ex-F1 colour play-by-play commentator. Let's hear what he has to say on the James Allen on F1 podcast.
Who's got the fastest car? It's clearly McLaren, and as you were saying, Mark, that seems to be the case across whether it's a street circuit, a fast-flowing, a hot circuit, a cooler circuit. It doesn't seem to make any difference. In terms of the underlying pace of the car, so not the actual lap time that was achieved in qualifying necessarily, but there's ways of measuring the actual underlying speed of the car. The gaps are actually quite interesting. Red Bull has been as little as 9/100ths off in Saudi, for example, but as much as 0.4 of a second off in Bahrain. And yet Verstappen has got 3 poles. And that says to me, Mark, that he's outperforming the car.
Don't let the abbots of unreason fool you, therefore. James Allen is one of the go-toest ones that I've ever heard, able to bring to life the nuanced texture that is F1. The rich tapestry of story. It's Fangio and it's Ayrton Senna. Back in James Allen's day, it's the coming to the party of Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton. He's seen more F1 than anybody in this modern day era. Schumacher, Seb Vettel too, commentated on all of them, and Sir Lewis Hamilton too. He's telling us that he thinks Maximilian Verstappen is making the difference. Oh, it's impossible to outperform the car. Don't let them grices razor you and pettifog you. You understand good and goddamn well what we're talking about, being that none of the other 19 on the grid could jump into that RB21 and do what Maximilian Verstappen's doing. Of what are you speaking, Cameron CC? We're talking Suzuka qualifying pole, and again, he doesn't make any mistakes. Why? Because he can't afford to, because he's driving a slower car than the MCL39 of Lando and Oscar Jack Piastri. Same thing at Miami, same thing at Saudi Arabia. He has no right to put that car on pole 3 races back to back to back. It's techie circumstances, but again, you have this conversation not under the umbrella heading of Maximilian Verstappen's pace. Oh no, that would be disingenuous, telling half the story, and we only deal in wholes, round numbers over here. What you need to talk to is Maximilian Verstappen's ability to execute in the times when it matters bloody most, as versus an OJ Piastri or a Lando Norris, aka Dustin from Stranger Things. James Allen expounds, giving Maximilian Verstappen the credit that he so deserves for his performances through to round 6, saying that it's not only outperforming the car, he's now outperforming the situation. Roll the clip.
Is harmonious. They're all heading in the same direction. They're well funded. They've got a very good technical setup, and you can just tell that you've been in this experience, this yourself, Mark. You've been at McLaren when they were humming along and winning, and once a team kind of gets that flow, it's quite difficult to stop it. I mean, you look at the Mercedes team that dominated for many years. You look at Schumacher's Ferrari period. Contrast that with Red Bull. Obviously, last year was quite a turbulent year for various reasons. Again, many human factors there, departures, very high-profile departures. And even now, I was picking up on jungle drums out in Miami when I was there last weekend, that there's some dissatisfaction. Again, another kind of niggly, unnecessary pit stop error during the sprint race that compromised Verstappen. These are all things that speak of a team that's not humming along. Red Bull. So Verstappen, again, not only is he outperforming the car, but he's also outperforming his situation, which I think is very, very interesting. And it'd be very interesting to see how long he can sustain that for.
Touche, James Allen. Maximilian Verstappen is absolutely outperforming the car, in addition now to the situation. It's almost like he puts in his performance, notwithstanding all of the chaos going on in that Red Bull Racing garage. Is Christian Horner going to stay on, or are they going to sack him? What's going on in the background as far as litigation? Is there litigation still pending? Does Christian Horner get along with Nostradamus Verstappen? Does he get along sufficiently with the Austrian bods Helmut Marko, Oliver Mintzlaff, and so too Mark Mateschitz? Or are those relationships terminal as far as their aspect? Can they continue to get along, sufficiently even to mend that RB21 car? Are Pierre Vacher and Enrico Balbo up to the task again that was set to them, that was to fill in the not insubstantial Adrian Newey shaped hole post his departure? If we can't answer those questions, if they can't answer all those questions over the next couple Grand Prix between now and the summer break, rest assured that Maximilian Verstappen will leave that team and Red Bull will crumble where they stand. They will never be the same again. The empire that Christian Horner built will fade to dust. Here's what you need to know, though, going into the Imola Grand Prix this race weekend. We'll preview properly tomorrow, I promise. We'll go through all the pertinent bits, but I just wanted to touch in my due diligence on these Maximilian Verstappen quotes. Here's what you need to know. Maximilian Verstappen, of the past 6 paid sessions, either quali, Q3 or the race, over the past 6 at the Imola Grand Prix, Maximilian Verstappen has won all apart from 1. By that I mean he's poled and won the race, poled and then won the race, poled and won the race in all but 1. That's the year then when Sir Lewis Hamilton nailed it, meaning therefore that this is a driver's track around which Maximilian Verstappen, notwithstanding the doable competitive advantage of the MCL39, will be super hard to beat. And here's another thing I want to play for you. Again, this is the guys and girls. This is James Allen speaking about inevitability. Not Max Verstappen, though. Here he's talking about Kimi Antonelli dropping it on Miami pole for the sprint. But it's pertinent. Roll the clip.
That long and been in it for 35. And I have to tell you that that's right up there amongst the most impressive and feel-good performances I've seen in all those years. It was, and the best bit about it for me is you could see it coming from right at the beginning of sprint qualifying 1. He was there from the beginning. He was on it, and he just built and built and built. And I love the inevitability of that. For a Grand Prix driver to become inevitable is really, really difficult. And there was inevitability about that pole. And it's a bit like Piastri. You knew that Piastri was going to overtake Verstappen in the Grand Prix, but you didn't know, it wasn't inevitable that Norris was going to be able to overtake him without it getting messy. And that's what, for me, when you get to that point of inevitability, you're into something very special. So anyway,
it would be remiss of us, therefore, to speak about inevitability as a signifier and as a term and not mention Maximilian Verstappen. For when you're watching Suzuka qualifying and Saudi Arabia and Miami Grand Prix most recently, there is a sense of inevitability about Maximilian Verstappen. It's almost like it's never in doubt. Fast forward then to the Imola Grand Prix, around which that dude is a demon, a fire-breathing dragon, a driver's track is what the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix is. Then how can we not say that Maximilian will be potentially inevitable yet again? Wolfer, you bet your bottom dollar, mate, that Maximilian Verstappen put in a lap record. Why? Because Maximilian Verstappen, for some say soon to be 5-time champion, is nothing if not inevitable. But I digress.